Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your burning questions and source materials and really try to unearth the most fascinating insights for you. Today, we're plunging into let's call it the wild world of reality television, specifically a season that absolutely dominated headlines and, yeah, definitely social media feeds in ways we've never quite seen before. We're talking about something that was, both this massive commercial success and at the same time, just a lightning rod for controversy.
Indeed, yeah. Our focus of this deep dive is Love Island USA Season 7. This was a season that achieved truly unprecedented viewership numbers, just huge. But while that was happening, it simultaneously became this flashpoint for really intense ethical debates and, frankly, a lot of fan outrage. It's a perfect case study from understanding that complex, often volatile interplay between reality TV production, the insatiable demands of audience engagement, and that unforgiving, instant landscape of social media. This season, maybe more than any before it, really stretched the boundaries of what viewers expected, and I think what the show fundamentally promised.
That's exactly what we're here to unpack. How did a show that's, supposedly designed for finding love morph into this hot mess? I think that's how a lot of people described it. A mess of strategic gameplay, these viral moments that just exploded, and some really serious ethical questions that echoed way beyond the villa itself. So our mission today is to explore those dizzying peaks of its popularity and then really delve into the deep pits of its, well, undeniably problematic moments. So yeah, grab a comfy seat because you're about to get a shortcut to being well informed on the season that truly had everyone talking, whether they loved it or maybe loved to hate it. Okay, let's start with the basics, just for anyone who might not be completely immersed in the whole Love Island universe. What exactly is this phenomena, and what's its core appeal to millions of viewers, maybe including you listening right now? So Love Island USA is the American spin-off of that hugely popular British reality TV series. It arrived here back in 2019 and pretty quickly became a significant part of pop culture in the States. The premise is fairly straightforward on the surface. You get a group of young, attractive singles. They're looking for love, supposedly, and they're all put together in this luxurious villa. For season 7, it was set against that stunning backdrop of Fiji. And then over several really intense weeks, they couple up. That means they choose a romantic partner, share a bed, potentially build a real relationship. They compete in various challenges, face these things called recouplings, where if you're left single, you're typically eliminated. And ultimately, they're all vying for a $100,000 prize. It's designed to be a high-stakes, high-drama environment right from the get-go.
Right. And what's truly fascinating here, and I think what really underpins the global success of Love Island, is that inherent promise it sells to the audience. It's not just a simple dating show, not at all. Instead, it very cleverly blends elements of a competitive dating format with something more like a Big Brother-style social experiment. By isolating these young, usually very charismatic contestants in this beautiful, often remote villa, the show tries to, intensely foster connections. So every interaction, every glance, every little conversation feels incredibly significant, both to the Islanders themselves and definitely to the viewers watching at home. This juicy format, as our sources call it, has just proven to be an incredibly addictive form of entertainment. It really transcends borders. You see global fans tuning in week after week, just deeply invested in the drama, the romances starting up, and of course the inevitable heartbreaks. But crucially, while the format itself is, a masterstroke in reality TV, it's the Islanders themselves, as one source puts it, who take it up a notch to make it an attention-wielding popcorn television. Their personalities, their often unpredictable choices, their heartfelt declarations, or sometimes the very obvious lack of them. That's what truly captivates people and drives the conversation. The appeal lies in that sort of voyeuristic pleasure of watching what seem like genuine connections blossom, seeing if these relationships can actually withstand the constant pressures and temptations of the villa. And honestly, just enjoying the escapist entertainment of it all, this sun-soaked paradise, we saw this formula work really beautifully, really effectively in previous seasons that people called iconic, like season 6. That season produced strong, lasting couples. A lot of viewers saw it as a cultural phenomenon because it really delivered on that core promise, finding love on reality TV. That season worked because it delivered the romantic fantasy, and that really solidified the show's place in pop culture.
You've laid out the bedrock of its appeal perfectly. But then, yeah, the story took a sharp turn because season 7 wasn't just another season. It absolutely soared to incredible new heights. We're talking audience engagement, cultural impact. And this isn't just anecdotal buzz. There were tangible, record-breaking measures of its success that really grabbed the nation's attention. This season was, quite simply, everywhere you looked. It felt inescapable for a while there.
Oh, undeniably so. The numbers for season 7 are pretty staggering. They paint a really clear picture of its unprecedented reach, a massive leap in its cultural footprint. So looking at the viewership data, season 7 actually became the second most watched streaming original title on Peacock, which is huge. To put that into perspective, our sources indicate it pulled in over 1.2 billion minutes viewed. That's billion with a B, across just 9 episodes in its second week alone. That's according to Illuminate streaming data. That kind of sustained engagement is just monumental for a streaming platform. And what's even more telling, this success wasn't just from its existing fan base. A huge chunk, 39% of its audience, were apparently new viewers. Fresh eyes. Which is pretty remarkable for a show already in its 7th season. It shows this powerful ability to keep attracting new audiences. And then beyond just, people watching on Peacock, its social media domination was absolutely undeniable, truly indicative of its virality. We saw a staggering 232% increase in TikTok engagement compared to previous season. That signals this massive spike in online discussion, content creation, just general buzz around the show. And this isn't just a number, right? It represents this profound shift in how audiences interact with reality TV now. It's not just passive viewing or like commenting on Instagram anymore. TikTok's short-form, super shareable video format allows for these instant reactions, meme creation, fan theories flying around. You can build these micro-narratives around specific moments. And Season 7's rapid-fire drama, the controversial stuff, the strong personalities, it was perfectly suited for TikTok. Every dramatic glance, every questionable statement, every villain or hero moment could be isolated, remixed, and go viral within hours. It created this incredibly potent feedback loop, TikTok buzz drove more viewers to Peacock. And then more chaotic moments on Peacock fueled even more TikTok content. It just amplified the season's overall impact and basically established TikTok as this essential parallel narrative running alongside the show. And this virtual buzz, it wasn't just online. It actually translated into real-world stuff like numerous watch parties popping up across the country. It shows just how deeply ingrained this season became in fans' daily lives. Viewing became this, communal experience.
That's a really powerful point about that TikTok feedback loop. And this level of exposure, it fundamentally rewrote the rules of the game for the contestants themselves, didn't it? For a lot of them, it felt like the biggest prize shifted. It wasn't just the $100,000 cash anymore. It was the massive platform, the instant celebrity status they gained. And it wasn't just a fleeting moment of fame either. It felt like this brand new, potentially very lucrative career path was literally opening up right in front of them. Like Islanders suddenly became a viable profession almost overnight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's truly fascinating is how the show has become this undeniable launch pad for social media superstars.
Mm-hmm.
The Hoop study really analyzed this phenomenon meticulously. The collective follower growth for this cast, staggering. Just the top 10 contestants alone collectively gained over 13 million new Instagram followers. During the season's final month, this isn't just about a few extra likes. This is about building a powerful, monetizable personal brand. Take Huda Mustafa, for instance. She gained the most new followers, an astonishing 3.3 million. That brought her total to 3.7 million. And she achieved this despite not winning the competition, which clearly underscores that the narrative impact, the audience connection, can be far more valuable than the actual prize money. The reasons people cited for her huge online popularity, her authenticity, or at least, the perception of it, her willingness to take accountability for some of her actions, and her raw vulnerability. She even opened up about past family trauma on Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy podcast, which seemed to resonate really deeply with fans, creating this even stronger, almost intimate connection. It just clearly demonstrates a crucial point. Online popularity can be distinct from on-screen victory, and sometimes even more lucrative, more impactful in the long run. Then you have Amaya Espinal. She ranked second with an impressive 3.2 million new followers, hitting 3.3 million total. She, however, did secure the $100,000 prize, sharing it as a co-winner with Brian. Her popularity was attributed to her authentic energy, bubbly personality, consistent one-liners, and even, as our sources note, her over-the-top theatrics, which apparently included lots of crying.
Huh. Okay. So different appeals work.
Exactly. Just goes to show how different, even contrasting personality traits can grab an audience's attention and affection. And the diversity of appeal among the top 10 is also really telling. You had Nicholas Van Steenberg. He's a registered nurse and a model. He gained 1.1 million new followers. That's a blend of aspirational lifestyle and grounded professionalism. Jose Pepe Garcia, a retired pro basketball player from Spain, built a strong international following, 1.1 million new followers, tapping into a global fan base. Shelly Besant, a day trader, added nearly 1 million. That highlights an interest in financial savviness, maybe. Alondria Carthan, with her blue-collar background and Southern charm, clearly resonated strongly with a particular segment, appealing to relatability. Ace Green, a dancer and content creator, was the youngest in the top 10, representing that new generation of digital natives. Iris Kendall from the beauty industry, Jeremiah Brown, a model and caterer. They also saw significant boosts. Even Sierra Ortega, despite all the controversy surrounding her, gained 723,000 new followers. She likely leveraged her existing experience in brand partnerships and talent management. This remarkable diversity, nurses, day traders, athletes, blue-collar workers, it signals this crucial evolution in Love Island's reach. It's not just attracting a niche demographic anymore, it's tapping into a broader cultural zeitgeist, where relatability across different jobs and backgrounds is highly valued. This suggests the show's appeal has maybe moved beyond just hot people finding love to a more democratic celebration of varied personalities. Audiences might be seeking not just glamour, but grounded authenticity, a touch of the everyday. And that broader appeal, in turn, just amplifies the show's cultural footprint and its potential for virality. And this post-villa economy is incredibly significant. These contestants are now actively making their rounds on the online and podcast circuit, appearing everywhere from major platforms like Call Her Daddy down to smaller fan-run YouTube channels. And often, spilling all the tea behind-the-scenes drama, stuff that wasn't aired, their current relationship statuses. But this circuit, it's more than just gossip. It's strategic content creation. They are effectively building massive social media empires. Through brand collaborations, affiliate marketing for fashion and beauty, launching their own merch, even creating subscription content on platforms like Patreon. They've basically transitioned from reality TV participants to some of social media's hottest new influencers, proving unequivocally that authenticity and relatability, or at least the perception of it, can be just as powerful as finding love on reality TV, and often way more enduringly lucrative.
Right, it's a whole different endgame now.
Exactly. This paradigm shift means the show itself is now a primary gateway to a completely different economy. It transforms the motivations for even going into the villa. As Tabi Vicuña, the founder of Heapsy, insightfully noted, being popular online is different from winning the competition. She also highlighted the appeal of those wellness-related jobs like nurses and fitness coaches among the popular contestants, which indicates the show's broad, cross-America audience, reaching far beyond typical entertainment hubs, showcasing this desire for aspirational but, grounded figures.
That's a truly comprehensive picture of that economic shift for these contestants. Wow. So, okay, unprecedented reach, instant fame. But this kind of intense spotlight, it almost always casts a long shadow, doesn't it? While Season 7 broke records and made headlines for its popularity, it also became marred by controversy since its premiere. Right from the start, there were some deeply problematic moments that really shook the villa, shook the fan base, and led to consequences that were felt way beyond the show's initial broadcast.
Undeniably. Yeah, this season was unfortunately plagued by these high-profile contestant exits due to resurfaced past actions, which immediately put production under intense scrutiny and really challenged the show's perceived moral compass. The first major incident involved Yulissa Escobar. She was axed in episode 2, basically right after she arrived. This swift removal came after videos of her using a racial slur, the N-word specifically, on a podcast were discovered by viewers and just instantly went viral online.
Oh, wow, okay.
Her public statement, it came out on June 6th. She acknowledged the gravity, saying she used it ignorantly, not fully understanding the weight, history, or pain behind it. And crucially, she recognized that intention doesn't excuse impact, which is, an important distinction. But that statement, while an attempt at accountability, didn't fully quiet the storm. Her account of actually being informed was quite dramatic. She said producers pulled her aside, asked her to remove her mic, leading her to initially fear a family emergency before they confronted her with the video and told her she was being immediately removed. The speed of that action really highlighted the immense pressure production was under from the online audience. Then, later in the season, Sierra Ortega's exit happened. This was in episode 30. The narrator, Ian Sterling, just simply stated she left the villa due to a personal situation. Very vague. However, this narrative simplification followed weeks of intense backlash over resurfaced social media posts. These contained a racial slur against Asian people. The public outcry was significant, very well organized. There was a Change.org petition demanding her removal that got over 17,300 signatures.
Wow.
And the impact was visible on her socials, too. She lost over 180,000 Instagram followers in a single week. Her parents actually issued a statement on July 6th describing it as one of the most painful weeks of our lives. While they acknowledged the need for accountability for Sierra's actions, they also condemned the threats, cruel messages, and attacks on her family, friends, even supporters, including these alarming claims that icy immigration and customs enforcement was called on them because of her Mexican and Puerto Rican heritage.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah, it got really ugly. And this situation profoundly affected other cast members directly. Bella Walker, who was an Asian-American contestant, publicly stated she appreciated the producers taking a stand against racism, but she also spoke about her personal heartbreak over the incident, which just underscores the real-world emotional toll on individuals inside that bubble. And adding to these controversies, Austin Shepard. He was voted off the show by the public, but he faced accusations of being a racist bigot while in the villa. He denied these claims by stating, rather bizarrely, that he has a black woman tattooed on my side.
Oof. That's not a great defense.
No. It was a defensive response that itself drew immediate and widespread criticism for being dismissive, tone-deaf to the seriousness of the allegations. So yeah, these instances just created this continuous cloud of ethical questions hanging over the entire season.
That is a lot to process. And it really sounds like production was constantly playing catch-up, reacting to fan outrage rather than maybe proactively addressing potential issues. And it's clear these individual controversies resonated far beyond the show itself, but this isn't the first time Love Island has faced issues like this, is it? It really feels like a recurring pattern across the whole franchise, both here and in the UK.
You've absolutely hit on something vital there. It's precisely that. These are not isolated incidents unique to Season 7. The Love Island franchise, both in the US and its highly influential UK original, has this well-documented history of intense public scrutiny and real consequences for actions both on and off screen. It illustrates this recurring pattern where contestants' pasts or their perceived missteps on the show are subjected to a level of public judgment that just seems to far exceed typical reality TV. Think about examples from Love Island UK. Season 12, Kyle Ashman was famously axed before he even got into the villa, alleged involvement in a violent crime, which he denied. But it highlights producers taking reactive measures when serious allegations pop up even before broadcast. We also saw Malia Arkian removed on her very first day in UK Season 2. Physical altercation with another contestant. That was a swift decision, but then it led to relentless online trolling directed at her, showing that intense public reaction to on-screen misconduct. Zara Holland, also from UK Season 2, faced a different kind of public shaming. She was famously stripped of her Miss Great Britain title after an intimate encounter on air violated pageant rules.
Right, I remember that.
That incident really underscored the immense pressure and the sometimes conflicting expectations placed on contestants. Their personal lives become public fodder, external endorsements can vanish based on what they do on screen. Later, UK Season 6, Ollie Williams faced widespread demands for removal because of resurfaced photos showing trophy hunting. That sparked petitions, tons of complaints to Ofcom, the UK's broadcasting watchdog. He ultimately quit, claiming he was still in love with someone else, but the public pressure was undoubtedly huge and likely a major factor. And then there's Adam Collard from UK Season 4. He was widely labeled the season's villain, accusations of toxic behavior, gaslighting female contestants. His actions even prompted a domestic abuse charity, Women's Aid, to issue a public warning about the problematic nature of his behavior on screen, raising concerns about the messaging the show was sending about healthy relationships.
Wow, so this is a deep-seated issue.
Exactly. These examples collectively underscore that the Love Island universe is this highly visible, globally scrutinized platform. Past actions, on-screen conduct, even vague allegations get subjected to this intense level of public judgment and consequence. And this constant external pressure often forces production companies to make difficult reactive decisions, just trying to maintain the show's public image and manage fan expectations. It creates this really precarious environment where ethical considerations are constantly being tested by the pursuit of drama and audience engagement.
So, okay, if that's the production side dealing with all that scrutiny, this brings us to a really crucial pivot point. What does all this mean? With such dramatic highs and lows, so many critics and viewers genuinely felt Season 7 was in an identity crisis. How much of this chaotic experience was by design, a calculated move for drama, and how much was just a reaction to these powerful external forces you've just described? It's a really important question about the integrity and, frankly, the future direction of the show.
Yeah, and this raises that important question about the very direction, the fundamental purpose the show is taking now. Critical feedback aimed squarely at production decisions was absolutely widespread. You saw it in fan discussions on Reddit, on Twitter, and in more formal journalistic analysis too. A really common sentiment among longtime viewers was that producers were trying too much to recreate that happy accident, that cultural phenomenon of season 6.
Right, trying to catch lightning in a bottle again.
Exactly. And this relentless pursuit, many felt, resulted in a season that just felt overly produced and less authentic.
Yeah.
It lost that genuine organic feel that emotional investment viewers crave from a show supposedly about finding love. It felt engineered, not like it was naturally unfolding. And part of this perceived overproduction stemmed directly from the casting choices, that influencer-heavy casting. A significant number of Season 7 contestants were openly content creators with sizable followings before they even set foot in the villa,
Yeah, that was noticeable.
which led to these widespread accusations that their main motivation wasn't genuine romantic connection. It was using the platform to get more Instagram followers, more financial leverage, creating what many viewers just derisively called fake connections.
Well,
some Reddit users expressing their frustration even went so far as to suggest implementing a cap on followers before entering the villa.
really?
Yeah, trying to ensure more authentic motivations, a genuine pursuit of love rather than just fame. That casting choice fundamentally altered how viewers perceived sincerity this season. And beyond casting, the actual game mechanics were significantly altered, contributing heavily to the season's chaotic vibe. Viewers noted a distinct lack of classic recouplings, where being single meant you were out. That's usually a core tension driver. Instead, you had islanders dictating votings and strategic voting becoming really prevalent, where pre-existing friendships or alliances would lead islanders to save their friends or actively eliminate strong couples they saw as competition.
Ah, so it became tactical.
Totally. It fundamentally changed the game's emotional stakes. It transformed it into what many disgruntled fans called Friend Island. Loyalty to friends trumped actually trying to find romance. And that traditional grafting, that hard work islanders usually do to pursue, build, secure romantic connections was largely absent. It was replaced by these shallow explorations or just a noticeable lack of real effort, further diluting the romantic premise. The chaotic villa dynamics were also a major point of confusion for the audience. While sending the girls to Casa Amor for the first time in the U.S., version that notorious second villa designed to test loyalties with new singles was seen as an interesting twist. The sheer volume of people just became overwhelming. Bringing 24 people in the villa at the same time was chaotic and nearly impossible for viewers to remember who was who, let alone track their relationships.
Yeah, I can see that. Too many faces.
Exactly. This huge cast diluted individual screen time, made it hard for viewers to connect or track relationship developments. Plus, there were tons of criticisms about a reduced dating and romance aspect. People complained about a lack of dates, no hideaways for those intimate moments away from the group, and too many physical challenges that do little to challenge current connections or foster deeper emotional bonds. All these changes together just fundamentally shifted the show's focus away from its core romantic promise, leaving viewers feeling disoriented and questioning its true purpose.
It definitely sounds like a deliberate shift in strategy from production, or at least one with highly influential consequences. But what's truly captivating here, and maybe a bit scary, is that the audience, you listening, had this unprecedented amount of power this season, impacting the show directly, sometimes with unforeseen and, frankly, deeply troubling consequences. It wasn't just about watching anymore. It was about actively participating, and that participation had real-world effects, good and bad.
Right, and what's truly fascinating here is just how much power the audience wielded this season. The consequences of that power were genuinely a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It revealed both the strength and, the danger of hyper-engaged fandom. On one hand, you had direct influence on the game itself. Viewers were given the ability to couple up bombshells with whomever they pleased. Bombshells, just to clarify, are those new, often very attractive islanders brought in specifically to shake things up, create drama.
All right, stir the pot.
Exactly. And this viewer intervention often set off a spiral, as one source put it, directly impacting the villa's dynamics, sometimes leading to outcomes like splitting up Huda and Jeremiah Brown. This power often led to islanders kicking off those lucky enough to find someone they like enough to be with for more than a few days. Prioritizing strategic plays and viewer-driven drama over genuine, organically forming connections. But on the other hand, the audience took matters into their own hands outside the voting windows in this unprecedented way. We saw active digging up old videos and posts of contestants, that whole phenomenon of receipt culture or cancel culture in action.
Yeah, that was intense.
This grassroots investigative work directly led to the departures of Yulissa Escobar and Sierra Ortega. It forced production to react to overwhelming external pressure. It highlights that porous boundary between the show's manufactured reality and the wider digital world. The audience's perceived moral standards could directly influence casting after filming had started. However, this immense audience power also sparks significant debate, particularly around a perceived double standard. Critics argued that only Yulissa and Sierra faced removal, despite claims from some viewers of other contestants posting and reposting derogatory things about other races that seemed to go unaddressed.
Okay, so inconsistent.
Yeah. It highlighted the show's unclear official stance on what moral standard their contestants need to meet. It left many questioning the consistency of the consequences, creating this sense of unfairness among parts of the fan base. The lack of a transparent, uniform policy just left room for accusations of bias.
Yeah.
Furthermore, accusations of editing bias and harmful tropes arose with alarming frequency. Contestants like Alandria Carthan and Shelley Besant were widely seen as being stereotyped as mean girls due to the show's editing choices, which amplified certain behaviors and minimized others. And a really stark, deeply concerning example of this biased portrayal translating into real-world harm was a BuzzFeed Tasty Instagram post that explicitly promoted violence against Shelley, who was a black woman, stating they would give her a knuckle sandwich.
Seriously?
Seriously. It illustrates the dangerous potential of biased portrayals in reality TV. Characters get constructed, then subjected to intense, often uncritical public judgment that can spill over into real-world threats and harassment. And perhaps most troubling, the intense audience engagement, fueled by social media, veered into really problematic territory with overzealous parasocial relationships.
Can you explain parasocial relationship quickly?
Sure. It basically describes that one-sided emotional bond viewers form with media figures, feeling like you know them intimately even though there's no actual interaction, and some fans became too parasocial, leading to online harassment, death threats, and even extreme targeted actions like calling CPS Child Protective Services on Huda.
Whoa, that's crossing a serious line.
A huge line. It raises serious ethical questions about the responsibility of reality TV producers when they're essentially playing with these people's feelings with the click of a button. It underscores the very real human cost of reality TV's relentless pursuit of drama and the audience's perceived right to intervene in contestants' actual lives. The digital age has blurred those lines between entertainment and personal assault in a deeply concerning way.
That is a truly sobering reflection on the darker side of audience engagement. Wow. It also brings us neatly, I think, to perhaps the most polarizing figure of Season 7, Huda Mustafa. She was undeniably at the heart of so much of the season's drama. Some people even gave her the title of Best TV Villain. But her journey on the show felt far more complex than just a simple antagonist. She seemed to embody many of the season's broader issues: audience perception, production choices, the lines between reality and entertainment.
Yeah, Huda Mustafa's journey on Love Island USA Season 7 was truly a whirlwind. It generated immense fan reactions and really embodied much of the season's chaotic, often ethically ambiguous energy. On screen, she was frequently accused by viewers and even some fellow Islanders of displaying this overly possessive nature toward Jeremiah Brown, who was her initial partner. Viewers also noted that she often failed to be a girl's girl, despite verbally claiming she was one. That led to perceptions of hypocrisy, which further fueled public debate. These behaviors, heavily amplified by social media, sparked countless social media debates, and even, as one source pointed out, wedged a divide between friends and families supporting bashing her, which just shows how deeply polarizing and personal and impactful her portrayal became. People were genuinely arguing over Huda at their dinner tables.
I believe it.
She was also, unfortunately, dragged into a racism controversy. Reports suggested an old TikTok of hers showed her lip-syncing to a song containing a racial slur. Now, sources say it was unclear from the video whether Huda is actually mouthing the word. But her already existing controversial reputation, the intense scrutiny around her character, just intensified the focus and amplified the outrage from the public.
Right, the context mattered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It demonstrated how quickly any past content could be weaponized and how a pre-existing narrative can really color the interpretation of ambiguous situations. What's particularly fascinating, though, and quite unusual, is the outcome of her tumultuous journey. Despite all the controversies, the accusations of her bringing the mood of the villa down for days, and her toxic behavior being made okay by the show's narrative, which was a criticism often leveled at the producers for not really addressing her actions adequately on screen, Huda not only continued her journey on the show, but also made history on the finale. She became part of the first couple in franchise history to break up in the finale with Chris Seeley.
Wow, okay. That's memorable.
Memorable, unexpected, yet perhaps a fitting end to her dramatic run. It was a climax that really underscored the lack of genuine lasting connections that characterized so much of the season. And this culmination led to a significant viewer disconnect among fans. Discussions on Reddit highlighted this widespread feeling that Huda's behavior was never called out and completely excused in the show, either by fellow Islanders or the narrative itself. There was notable criticism that the Islanders voted Jeremiah out, saying that he causes Huda's reaction.
Ah, the blame shifting.
Exactly. Implying this blame shifting that many viewers found frustrating, unjust, and maybe indicative of a deeper problem with accountability within the villa's social dynamics. But this intense focus on her, whether viewers were hate-watching or genuinely engaged in her storyline, undeniably contributed significantly to the season's record-breaking buzz. Huda became this central, if controversial, figure who, despite not winning the prize, completely dominated the conversation, proving that sometimes being the villain or the most talked-about character can actually be the most profitable outcome in that post-Villa economy.
It's absolutely clear Huda's journey encapsulates so much of what made Season 7 both this ratings giant and such a contentious talking point. So, okay, let's bring it together. If Love Island USA Season 7 was simultaneously a smash hit and a hot mess, what does this tell us about the current state of reality TV? And what does it truly mean for the future of the show? It really felt like the series was at some kind of crossroads, questioning its own foundational identity.
Yeah, this season undeniably threw Love Island USA into a profound identity crisis, one that resonated really deeply with its long-term audience. Many viewers felt the season just stopped being a dating show altogether. Instead, it became more about exploring everyone possible until the options were depleted, shifting its core purpose from romance to, strategic exploration. The show was frequently likened by fans and critics to Big Brother meets Bachelor in Paradise, or even its own spin-off, Love Island Games.
Yes.
Because of that heavy emphasis on alliances and strategy rather than genuine romantic connections.
Right, the game aspect took over.
Completely. The focus had clearly moved from heartfelt connections to tactical maneuvering. Islanders choosing partners based on perceived strength and challenges or popularity with the public, rather than genuine romantic interest. This fundamental shift just alienated many who tuned in specifically for the love story. And this divergence from its core identity culminated in that lukewarm finale. A key indicator was that none of the original couples from the show's early days made it to the end, which is usually a staple of a successful Love Island season. Ultimately, only Amaya and Brian were the only remaining couple who committed to each other, and even their relationship had its share of drama. This glaring lack of lasting original connections highlighted the very thing the show was supposedly sold on, genuine connections and romance, was conspicuously absent from its ultimate resolution.
Yeah, the payoff wasn't quite there.
Exactly. The finale should be a celebration of love found, but instead it felt like a whimper. The constant experimenting with the format, the perceived lack of safeguards throughout the season, it led to such a chaotic environment that many viewers felt they weren't able to trust any of them. Eroding that foundational trust between the audience and the show's narrative, the characters, their motivations, even the show's intentions became suspect. It created this real sense of cynicism.
That's a pretty stark analysis of the show's state after Season 7. You mentioned earlier that producers need to figure its shit out, or perhaps figure things out. What are the concrete suggested changes that emerge from this tumultuous season? And given that Paradox record-breaking success alongside all this criticism, how likely are those changes to actually happen? Because let's be real, profitability often trumps viewer complaints in this industry.
Precisely. And the calls for change are loud and clear, largely stemming from that audience frustration with Season 7's chaotic, less authentic nature. A strong consensus advocated for less viewer intervention in dumpings and couplings. Viewers seem to want producers to keep the voting process very straightforward, focus on public votes for favorite Islanders or couples, and explicitly avoid allowing Islanders power to dump someone from the island strategically.
Get rid of the tactical voting by Islanders.
Right. They argue this would prevent that friend-island dynamic, eliminate alliances, manipulating the game, and ensure that genuine connections are valued over tactical maneuvers. The audience wants to vote for love, it seems, not for game players. Furthermore, there's a significant demand for improved vetting and clearer policies. Producers are being urged to do a better job of vetting show candidates to prevent contestants with problematic pasts from entering the villa in the first place. This feels particularly crucial given the show's history with racial bias and the recurring controversies around hate speech, as well as the need to clearly define what they find unacceptable regarding racist comments and actions. This would ensure transparency, accountability, provide both contestants and viewers with a clearer understanding of the show's ethical boundaries. It's about more than just reacting and removing people. It's about proactive safeguarding, setting a higher standard from the beginning. But despite all the turbulence and the identity crisis, the success of authentic couples like Amaya and Brian this season, and if you recall, Season 6's Cordell Beckham and Serena Page, that clearly indicates what kind of stories win big on Love Island USA. That underlying desire for genuine connections and romance remains paramount for many viewers. It suggests that a strategic return to these core values, even amidst the drama, could rekindle audience trust and engagement. The audience fundamentally still seems to believe in the love part of Love Island.
There's still hope for romance, maybe.
Maybe. However, and this is the crux of the paradox, the record-breaking success of Season 7, despite all its controversies and that internal identity crisis, makes it very unlikely that Love Island USA will take a year off and figure its shit out.
Yeah, the money talks.
The money talks. The profitability, the massive engagement, those are powerful incentives for continuation. They often outweigh critical feedback or ethical concerns in the fast-paced world of reality TV. In fact, the Season 8 call for auditions was posted almost immediately after Season 7 wrapped, demonstrating a quick turnaround, a clear intention to capitalize on the momentum. Now, the Season 7 reunion, airing on Peacock with Ariana Madix and Andy Cohen, that will provide some closure, a platform for contestants to spill the tea, but the continued success of the Love Island, beyond the Villa spinoff for the Season 6 cast, that further indicates a public desire to follow genuine relationships that formed more organically. That spin-off format might offer a glimpse into what viewers truly value long-term, a more authentic, less produced continuation of the love stories they get invested in, perhaps highlighting a path forward for the main show to maybe re-emphasize its romantic core, even if they don't take a full break.
What an absolutely wild deep dive into Love Island USA Season 7. We've really seen how this season became this truly fascinating paradox, haven't we? A massive commercial success, a social media powerhouse, yet simultaneously plagued by controversies, overt strategic gameplay, and that identity crisis that left so many viewers questioning its very premise. It truly stretched the boundaries of what reality television can be, for better or worse.
It really did. It highlighted that volatile, ever-evolving intersection of reality television and the digital age. The immense, often unchecked power of the audience, the calculated, sometimes criticized decisions of the producers, and the deeply scrutinized online paths of the contestants. They all converged to create a season that became this stark, if chaotic, reflection of our collective engagement with fame, intense scrutiny, and high-stakes drama. It really showed us just how much influence each of these elements holds in shaping the reality we consume and the serious ethical tightrope walk that reality TV now faces.
And as we see those lines blur ever more between entertainment and actual life, it leaves us with an important question for you, our listener. In an era where everyone can be a content creator, where audience engagement is an undeniable form of power, what responsibility do we as viewers truly have in shaping the reality we consume? And what does it genuinely take for reality TV to deliver both the compelling drama it clearly seeks and the authentic, lasting connections it still promises? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.